Welcome to Process to Profitability, a podcast all about the tools and strategies you need to serve your clients and grow your small business, hosted by me, Samantha Mabe of Lemon and the Sea. Join me as I chat with creative entrepreneurs and small business owners about how they built and grew their businesses and how you can do the same in a way that fits you. Let's get started. You're listening to episode 76 of Process to Profitability. Today, I'm going to be talking about the top tools that I use in my business. I decided that this would be a good episode to share with you guys because while it is shorter, it's got a ton of resources. And I'm going to break this into a couple of different sections so that no matter what type of business you run, you can check out these tools and see if they would work for you in your business. I have an entire PDF guide called My Toolbox, and if you want to get that with links to everything that I use and some that I don't mention here in the show, you can do that at lemonandthesea.com/my-toolbox, and it will allow you to download that PDF. It's got a full list of all of the tools that I use, and it's a really great resource for anybody who's starting a small business. I know that when I want to figure out a new tool or system in my own business, I go and check out what other people are using because a lot of times they have tried and true systems that work, and I want to be able to tap into that. And that's why I'm sharing my tools with you guys today so that you can see what works for me and check them out to see if they would work for you as well. So first, I want to start with the tools that I use for designing. In my business as a website designer, there are a lot of different things that I use every day as I design, but some of the top ones are Squarespace, obviously. That is where I design all of my websites, or almost all of them. I do offer Showit website design, but Squarespace seems to be like the most popular platform for my clients because it's really easy for them to update once we're done. It looks professional, and you can customize it with a lot of really cool things as a designer. As I dig into things, I'm learning more and more every day about what I can customize. The really awesome thing about going through a designer when you're starting your Squarespace website is if that designer actually starts the website for you and they are a member of the Squarespace Circle, which just means that they have completed a certain number of Squarespace websites, you get a lot of benefits. So you get 20% off your first purchase. You get a longer trial period before you have to pay for your website. And that's a great way to work with somebody who can help you and give you extra benefits that are going to be ongoing even after you're done working with them. The other big tool that I use for designing is the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. When I first started my design business, I had Adobe CS4, I think, from when I was in college, and over time I've upgraded. So now I have Adobe Creative Cloud. I pay for it every month, and what that gives me is all of the updates as they come out for all of these programs. Some designers will just subscribe so that they can have a couple of the programs, but I pay for the full membership. So I have access to any and all Adobe programs. Some of the most used ones for me are Photoshop, which is where I do all of my photo editing and resizing for clients, and Adobe Illustrator, which is where I can work on some of their designs if I have to make updates to get things ready for the web. While I don't design logos and other kind of collateral design anymore, a lot of times I am still going in and making updates to what's already existing to make sure that it works for their website. And having Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop allow me to do that pretty easily. I also use Adobe InDesign for designing documents, including business cards, opt-ins, and informational packets. And most of this I use in my own business more than for my clients, but it's a really awesome program to get to know. And it's a pretty standard one if you are going to print things. So as a designer, it's one that I am glad that I've learned. The other design tool that I use is Hotstock, and you can listen to the episode with the founder of Hotstock earlier in this podcast. I'll link to it in the show notes. But what's really cool about this is it's got stock images that you can share on social media in collections based on color and theme. So I get to use these in my own work. This is where I source most of the images for my website and my social media. If you are not interested in a subscription service like that, or it just doesn't fit with your business model, which is totally fine, I would recommend checking out the SC Stock Shop, or I really like Pixabay. And those sites, SC Stock Shop is paid, but Pixabay is free stock images that you can use on your website. And when you are using websites for images, just make sure that you are following their guidelines as far as what you can use those images for, and if you have to pay for them or not, because you don't want to be caught stealing an image. And I have an episode about this that I will link to in the show notes as well, of just where to find images so that you can really get the best images for your website or your brand or your social media, and make sure that you're using them legally. Part of what it takes to run a successful online business is having the right tools for the job. I'm sharing a list of all of the tools I use in my business in my toolbox. And you can find that at lemonandthesea.com/my-toolbox to download it now. These include tools that I use for podcasting, designing, running my business, and other things, so you can get a real inside look at everything that I use every day in order to serve my clients well and grow my business. Again, you can find that at lemonandthesea.com/my-toolbox. So while most of my business is on the design side, most of my tools are not. And that's because I've really narrowed in on just those couple of tools and resources that I really like in my business, and I trust them and go back to them over and over again. Where I have a longer list of tools is in the business side of things. So business administration in general. I have a ton of tools that I use for this, and I choose ones that really make it easy for me to serve my clients and make my job as a business owner easier. And some of these you will have heard me talk about before, but I wanted to go over them here. So the first one, and one of my favorites, is Dubsado. I started using Dubsado last year after hearing about it at a small retreat, and it has been one of my favorite tools because the people that work there are so responsive to questions. They're always coming up with new updates, and I found that I can do so much in one platform. So I use Dubsado for invoicing, for sending contracts, for sending questionnaires to my clients. It also has automated emails. I can link to PDFs in their client portal. It's basically everything you need for a great client experience in one place and for one low monthly payment. The reason that I love them so much is because when I first started my business, I was trying to save money, and I used a lot of tools that were free or very low cost, but it meant that anytime that I was going to onboard a client or go in to make sure everything was up to date, it was everywhere. There were so many different programs. They had to get so many different emails. And with Dubsado, I don't have to do that anymore. Basically, the contact form on my website goes straight to my Dubsado. Then I can send somebody an automated email to schedule a call. If we're a good fit, I upgrade them from a lead to a job. And then I can send them a contract, send them an invoice, send them all of the questionnaires and PDFs and everything that they need and I need to make the project run smoothly. And the best part is you can set up a workflow so that all of this is done, pre-scheduled, pre-written, and you aren't having to think about it. They're also coming out with some really cool updates and upgrades and new functionality all the time. So as I use it more and as time goes on and they're releasing those things, I actually get to stop using some of the other functions and the other platforms and really narrow in on this one place that can hold everything for my business. The next tool that I use a ton is Asana. You may have heard about this. It's a really great tool for project management, and it's free, so I would recommend you check it out. This is a program that really uses a list functionality, but you can set it up for different projects. I used to use this for my clients, but now I only use it in-house, and it basically keeps my to-do list in order. I have my Asana set up so that I have a couple of different categories. I have each of my client projects as a project, And then I have my podcast as a project and my general just business stuff. And under each of those, I put down every step of what I need to be doing. So for my podcast, I will have the episode with the guest. I'll have everything to check off. So brainstorm an idea for the episode, send a request, get it scheduled, create the graphics, send the interview questions, do the interview, wrap up, send a guest gift. It's all in a list. I can assign it to me and then assign due dates. And what it does is when you log in, you basically get to see your tasks by due date. And that way I can see exactly what I have coming up for the day and for the week. And I know that I have these things all in order so I won't forget them. It works really well for client projects for me because I can create what's basically a template. I go through, when I redid my process, I created a template for each different type of project. And as I get a new client, I can copy that template, customize it to the client, remove anything that needs to be removed, and go from there. And it makes it super easy because I have everything that I need in a checklist form. The next biggest tool that I use for my business is Google Calendar and the Google Suite in general. So I subscribe to G Suite for my email. It is a great email platform because it's really easy to use, and I use Gmail in my regular, everyday, not business owner life, so I'm familiar with it. And that gives me access to the entire Google Suite. What I use most, other than the email, are the calendar. So I have calendar set up for personal, business, client projects. I have one for my husband, and they're all in one place. I can share them and invite people to events. And most of the programs that I'm using, like Dubsado and Acuity, which I'll talk about later, sync with my calendar so that I never have to worry about overlapping appointments. The other thing I use from Google is the Google Drive. So this is where clients can upload bigger files like images or big text documents for their websites. It keeps it organized. I share one folder with them. Nobody else gets access to it. And we can share files that are important, but that we don't want to get lost in email or that are too big to send some other way. The next tool is ConvertKit. So I use this for email marketing and segmenting. Basically, it houses my email list. I send out a weekly broadcast, and then I can set up all kinds of segments to just really make sure that people are getting the information that they need from me in email form. And then I use Tailwind for scheduling Pinterest. I also use Later for Instagram scheduling. So both of those tools are for social media scheduling, and they have been such a blessing because it means that I don't have to do those things for myself. Basically, I can schedule things ahead of time and they take care of it for me. And finally, the last tool I'm going to share with you guys today is Wave. I have mentioned this one before as well, but that is a free accounting software. It syncs with your bank account, your credit cards, your PayPal, everything that you need. And what I do is go in once a week, just make sure everything is up to date. And then as I have bank statements come in, I just make sure that my online Wave account matches what's in my bank account and on paper. And it makes it really easy for me to print reports at the end of the year and every quarter. It's really organized when I take things to my accountant, and it's a whole lot easier for me than using a spreadsheet or something that's more complicated. Of course, there are lots of other tools that I use for the business side of my business. And if you want to check those out, make sure you download the My Toolbox PDF guide. It's at lemonandthesea.com/my-toolbox. And you can get that there to just get a list of all of the tools that I use and links to all of them. And the last thing I want to talk about today as far as tools in my business is what I use for podcasting. So we haven't talked a ton about running a podcast on this podcast, but it's obviously a very important part of my business, and it's becoming more and more popular as a content form. So I just wanted to share with you guys what I use for that. The first big tool that I use is Zoom. So Zoom is where I get on my calls with my clients. It allows me to record either video or sound only. And what's really cool about Zoom is you can go to the settings and set it so that it records each person's audio separately, and that makes it really easy for editing. So I really recommend it. You can use this for free, or you can pay a little bit each month to get a couple extra features, but it's a really great way to record these types of things. I use it for the actual recording. I use it when I'm jumping on a call with somebody and we're brainstorming questions so that we can see each other on video. I use it with my clients. It's one of my favorite tools. The next tool that I use here is Typeform. So Typeform is where I collect my guest recommendations and have people apply to be on the podcast. The reason I went with Typeform instead of putting this through my Dubsado is that Dubsado turns these into leads as far as clients go, and that's not what I'm looking for. I wanted something completely separate that I could brand for the podcast, and all it does is gives people a place to answer the questions, and then it sends me an email with that information, and I can do what I need to with it. It is also a free tool, so make sure you check that one out. When I'm trying to schedule an interview with somebody, and I do this with my clients too, I use Acuity. So I've been using them for quite some time. I pay a little bit each month, but I can have all different types of appointments, and it syncs to my Google Calendar. So I have it set up for podcasting specifically, that these are the days and times that I'm available for podcast interviews. I have it set so that each time block is an hour, and then I can just send people that link. They can enter their name, their time zone, and it will show them the times that I'm available, and they can sign up for something that fits their schedule and my schedule without us having to email back and forth. And then with Acuity, because I pay for Zoom, when they sign up, it automatically adds them to my schedule in Zoom and creates a call for us, sends them an email with that link. It takes care of all of that for me so that it's really, really easy for me to handle. And the final tool that I'm going to share here is Libsyn. When you have a podcast, and we're not going to talk a ton about this today, but you have to have a podcast host, just like you have a website host. You can use Squarespace for this, but I don't recommend it because it can slow your website down. So having a separate podcast host like Libsyn is a great way to have all of your stuff in one place, and it automatically sends things out to iTunes and SoundCloud and Stitcher and all of the different places that my podcast is hosted. All I have to do is go in there, upload the file, add the name and the description, and schedule it, and it's ready to go for me. So those are the tools that I use most in my business. And I know this was a quick episode, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse into what I do and what has worked for me in my business, so that you can see if it might work for you as you are trying to figure out how to streamline your systems and figure out what is going to work best for you and your clients, and how you can make things easier for you to run your business so that you can spend more time doing what you love. My only action step for you guys today is to check out this list and then go and see if any of these tools would work for your own business. There is a whole lot of different things out there, so it's going to take some time to explore, but I recommend that you look to somebody that you trust to see what might work for you. Thanks for listening to Process to Profitability. Please take a minute to leave an honest review in iTunes so that I can help more small business owners and creative entrepreneurs find the show.